first ever Blank Stare Retro Review. So, Torrin is here with me today. It's the first time we're Torrin on the show. Not many episodes, but we're starting the roll.
Hey, I got started early to stay a mainstay of the series.
Let's hope so. Let's hope that's true, man. Even though you live out in the middle of nowhere, but
we could change the style.
Okay, so today, if it's not obvious, well, it's not obvious because that's a different Spider-Man. But we're gonna be reviewing 2002 Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man. And our thoughts. We want to share our thoughts with you guys. This movie's been out a while, so we've had years to go over in our head what we think.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old movie of one of the most popular grossing superhero of all time. I was 2 years old when this thing came out.
I was 13.
You probably saw this one in theaters.
Oh, this is one thing I was going to tell you because I'm like, I know there's younger audience members out there. The advertisement for this movie was insane.
I've never seen a trailer now that I think about it.
No, you could not go back in 2002, the whole year of 2001, late 2001, all the way till May 3rd. I believe this movie came out May 3rd. Fact check me later. But you couldn't go a day without seeing 10 reminders for this movie coming out. It was everywhere. It was on soda. It was on chips. You couldn't go to the store without seeing like some kind of cutout of Spider-Man. And it was probably the greatest marketing for a movie I've ever seen in my life. And I was pumped for this movie.
I was watching a video about the top grossing franchises with Star Wars, Marvel, and DC. So up until Spider-Man came out, the top grossing Marvel movie had been Blade at that time. And then Spider-Man surpassed Batman.
What about X-Men?
It surpassed X-Men.
Really?
Spider-Man became... I think X-Men actually came out after Spider-Man, but even then it didn't reach...
X-Men came out in 1999 or 2000.
Bro, I was a baby. I am younger than you. Spider-Man, before the MCU really took off, was the top grossing MCU Marvel film of all time.
Superhero movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
It beat Batman, it beat Superman, up until Batman Dark Knight came out.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers didn't have anything on Spider-Man. I'd have to recheck that thing, but
I remember Superman Returns was trash. So.
It definitely beat Superman.
No doubt.
It was a lot of money at the time. now Spider-Man 2002 is nothing.
It's nothing. They're not going to make a sequel nowadays. if that's what the movie makes, they're definitely not going on with a sequel.
Now that's nothing. I mean, almost every MCU movie makes over $1 billion back. I think the lowest grossings have been Ant-Man. Not many people seem to care about Ant-Man. I like Scott Lang.
Yeah, Ant-Man's middle of the road to me. As far as a Marvel movie goes, I'm surprised other movies did worse, but I don't want to bash other movies yet because I'll save that for reviews later down the road.
But without Sam Raimi, without Tobey Maguire, and this Spider-Man, we may never have seen superhero movies take off the way they did.
That's true.
These movies really made the early 2000s and onward think superhero.
See, I'm kind of interested to think... You know what I'm kind of curious about? I'm curious about people who grew up with the good, nowadays high-budget Marvel movies, what they think of this one. Because this movie gets bashed on a lot. Okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. You've always heard me bash on this movie. And it's been years since I've seen it.
Some context, me and him are old co-workers. We used to work at the same job, and we would talk movies all the time. Of course, MCU being what it is, we talk about Spider-Man. He would go, Toby's fake crying was so shit. I'm like, ugly cries aren't supposed to look good. He just lost his uncle. Give him credit.
No, I'm not even talking about the uncle part. I'm fine with him crying about his uncle, but he looks like he's gonna cry all the time. Anyway, look, we'll touch on this more.
He always looks sad.
He always looks sad. It's the most depressing.
He's also super depressed.
I'm a kid who grew up wanting to be Spider-Man. I would fantasize about being Spider-Man. And Tobey Maguire, it's like, whoa, man, he makes Spider-Man looking like, it looks depressing. And eventually he does turn emo, but that's a third movie, which is, I'm not gonna talk about that just yet. But another thing this movie screwed me over with is when I was a kid, I watched the way Peter Parker interacts with women. With Mary Jane specifically.
A simp?
Yeah, where he doesn't know what he's saying. He seems shy and stupid. I thought that's how you're supposed to talk to girls. So that set me back that set me back for a
You
good
know,
while.
I probably was influenced by him on that aspect, and I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I would talk to girls. I thought that's how you're supposed to do it.
All shy and awkward. Be
all
like,
shy, awkward. Don't make eye contact.
confidence is key, they always said, but then you watch people who have no confidence get girls, and you're like, I don't need confidence. I don't need to come out loud and loud.
Also, Spider-Man is literally a nerd's idol. I mean, he's a geek. He's unpopular. He's a nerd. Yet he's
no
ripped.
money.
He's no money. He's ripped. He kicks ass. He's funny when he has the costume on, and he always gets hot chicks. It's every nerd's wet dream.
Spider-Man Peter Parker has gotten with more women than Batman has.
I believe that.
Bruce Wayne, of course, probably slept around a lot, but as actually seriously trying to get women, not just women to hold off your identity with, Spider-Man, he lays.
Maybe we should get into the movie, though.
Real quick, because you said the aspect about relationships. What's Tobey Maguire did teach me about interacting with women is always be confident in them. Think about that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I want to talk more about that one later, but Toby always, Peter always believed in MJ when no one else did.
That's true. And yeah, you're right. There's a scene specific on. 2 scenes where they interact in the movie that I kind of want to talk about. But also, Mary Jane, comic book Mary Jane, is probably why I have I find redheads really attractive. And it's all because of Mary Jane. As a kid growing up, it was like, wow. Especially the way Todd McFarlane drew Mary Jane. Very, how do you say it? Voluptuous, right?
Voluptuous.
Yeah. Check out
the
1980s
classic,
Mary Jane. 1980s Mary Jane bikini.
The classic, of course, always controversial, Mary Jane poses where she's like on...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
With the white t-shirt with the Mary Jane Spider-Man heart.
Keep in mind that Spider-Man and Mary Jane is also one of the few, top 5 consistent actual relationships of comics.
Okay, so I can think of Lois Lane.
Lois Lane, Superman. Spider-Man, Mary Jane.
Would Betty and Bruce Banner count?
No.
Okay. Pepper and Tony. No, that doesn't count. Pepper and Tony don't count.
I never read classic Iron Man, but I never heard about Pepper Potts before I saw the new movie. Well, I heard her, but she was always the assistant.
Oh, okay. And, so...
I want to say... What's another one? There's not a good... Relationships don't do well in comics.
No, they don't. Somebody always ends up getting killed. And it's usually not the main character.
Or it's just some superheroes having a fling, but they need to be their own character, so you can't have them stay together.
Canary. Canary. We were on the same time. Okay.
Good Spider-Man, Mary Jane, classic relationship, good relationship. Let's get to the movie.
Okay.
First thing I want to say, right off the bat, it's been 6 years probably since I've watched Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie, and I still love it.
You rewatched it again?
I rewatched it part last night, part this morning because I fell asleep. I got real tired, but I finished it. I still love this movie. This movie brings me back to my childhood, even with some of its faults. Its CGI has not aged well at all, especially in the parade scene. I actually still love this movie.
Well, CGI speaking, I did not age well, but I actually like that scene.
I like the scene, but I don't like the way it looks. But also with how Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is so campy, it also still works even while looking bad.
Yeah. So I rewatched this last night, or yesterday, whatever. I rewatched it again for the purpose of the review. But I didn't rewatch it alone. My son was with me, and like I said, I bashed this movie forever. I thought it was I didn't like this Peter Parker, but rewatching it with my son, seeing him laugh at all the campy parts, and he didn't care that it was cheesy. He didn't care. It did not bother him. He laughed at a bunch of the stuff, and watching it with him, it kind of reminded me how I felt when I first saw this movie, and I complete 180 on it. I'm back on board. I'm back on board with Spider-Man 2002.
I was hoping for the argument.
No, the stuff that I didn't like that I told you about, some of that stuff I don't really like, but the other stuff that I was very... I don't know. You said nitpicky about. I let it go. I like the movie for its campiness.
Yeah,
I like.
It's what it does well.
It is what it does well. It's
Tobey Maguire.
It stands it apart from other superhero movies, especially nowadays.
Tobey Maguire, except for obviously the third movie where he's under the effects of Venom and we get emo Spider-Man, is a campy hero without being an asshole.
Yeah.
Which is a complaint I would have for the Amazing Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, I think he's funny. I like it. He's an asshole.
Okay, I'm going to say one thing. I have read, over the span of 7 years, I have read every single Spider-Man comic.
The mainline, right?
Mainline, spin-offs, everything.
Did you do Ghost Spider yet?
Talking about the main character, Spider-Man.
I was about to say.
No, I haven't done Ghost Spider. Unless she comes into a Spider-Man story. This is my thing. People don't know this, but when Peter Parker got bit by the spider, he was a dick, man. He was an asshole to people.
Oh, I've seen the old comics, when Peter had a power trip at first.
He turned down the Fantastic Four because there was no money involved. He turned down the X-Men because he didn't want to be thrown in with mutants. Like, he was basically racist. He's like, I don't want... So my reputation's hard enough as it is. I don't need this shit, too.
Not to mention, he got passed around a lot by superhero teams.
He did.
Due to the fact that he couldn't come out and say, yo, I'm not a mutant. Yeah. I'm not this. I'm just some dude who got bit by a spider. He can't say that. So also, different teams, X-Men try to recruit and be like, you're a mutant, Peter.
But it makes sense because he was a high school kid. Like, for example, when he tries to join the Avengers are kind of iffy on him because they've read all the papers and everything Jonah said about him. So they were like, well, we got to do a background check. And this dude got offended right off the bat. He's like, you know what, screw you guys. I'm going home. Spider-Man movie, 2002.
2002 Spider-Man. First thought, the credit scene, the start of the credits, is too long.
Oh my god, yes it is. I got up like 3 times before the things.
I don't think the graphics haven't aged well.
No.
But even if they had, feels like 5 minutes of credits, opening credits.
I'm glad it only felt like 5 minutes to you because it felt longer than me.
It was I was on my phone when that came on. Like, I set off my phone for most of the movie, but when that came on, I just knew this is going to take a while.
Yeah, I got up, made coffee, then I went to the bathroom, came back, got my phone, and...
beat World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
It is long, but then we get to our first opening scene, and we meet Peter Parker. So this is...
What do you think, real quick, what do you think on the voiceover?
The voiceover is very early 2000s. A monotone... The character is monotone as he's talking about responsibility, about how my life started, and I'm not a fan of it.
I'm not a fan of it either.
But it's a product of its times. Being all the character appearances in general. Flash Thompson looks like he's from an early 2000s boy band.
Oh, no, he looks like... He looks... Oh, man. What's he look like? He looks like a rock fan on a low budget, so he just... Whatever he thinks is metal is what thing he put on.
He looks like early punk.
Yeah,
But, so we meet... Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And this is a classic Peter Parker. I'm not a huge fan of current comics Peter Parker. I haven't been a fan of him for a long time. I think Miles represents what Spider-Man should be more, and that's the struggling anybody could be behind the suit, struggling individual, just trying to live life while being a hero.
Right.
Current Peter Parker in comics, at least when I last read them, hasn't been that in years. He's a billionaire. He's not
a billionaire anymore.
Not anymore?
No, he lost his company because...
he's still a well-known scientist.
No,
he's not.
He is well-known.
He's not struggling like he used to, is what I'm saying.
He doesn't struggle. He's well-known. He goes from one hot girl to another hot girl. Yeah, but let's...
Spider-Man's lost his way.
Yeah, let's keep it moving so far.
So...
This is all you need to know Spider-Man info.
This kid, we're nerds. This kid, he's bullied. Not even the nerdy kids. The ones that early 2000s movies and even these days like to make you think are the most bullied. The nerds with braces and glasses.
There's a fat kid.
The overweight kid who's eating food all the time. No one likes Peter. He is bottom of the barrel. And he's in love with the girl next door. What's her name?
Mary
the
Jane.
Gorgeous Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane. And she looks amazing in these movies. It's unfortunate what she's reduced to.
Oh, okay. First off, that's fucked up because, I mean, what are we, like, models here?
Huh?
What do you mean, like physically? Oh, you mean in the movie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not talking
about...
Not what she's reduced to now. I'm talking about Mary Jane as a character.
As a character in the movie.
Kristen Dunst has a lot of good range, and she's used for screaming. In fact, I'm pretty sure in Spider-Man 3, they just reused her screaming because she doesn't want to do that anymore.
Also, Norman Osborn, No, okay, so Norman
Willem
Osborn's supposed to
Dafoe.
look like William Dafoe is supposed to look like an asshole in this movie when he talks shit on Mary Jane to Harry Osborn about how she's a gold digger, this and that, and she's not loyal, and just do what you want with her and get rid of her. And he's not wrong. He's actually right. She got done making out with Spider-Man. She was talking to Peter Parker, kind of flirting.
Let's get back to Mary Jane's progress as a relationship. Like, there's a lot to unpack with Mary Jane's character beyond the fact of just her relationship with Peter, but how they use her. I have some notes on that.
Okay.
So what do you think of our introduction to Peter? Because I think very classic Peter.
I do think it's very classic Peter. I do like how big a nerd he is. Even the bus driver, for some reason, is an asshole to this kid.
A dick.
For no reason. But I do like that. I do like that he's a nerd. I mean, he has to be a nerd because, he has to be a social outcast and everything. And
that's what makes you connect with him.
Yeah,
because you're some nerd in a comic
like we said in the start of the video. He's a nerd's wet dream. He's what a nerd wants to be.
The start to finish of what you wish your life was.
Yeah, like you might be on the bottom now, but you're gonna be on top. But also, I like that his relationship with Harry Osborn. I like how Norman Osborn instantly gravitates towards Tobey Maguire's character, Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I like how Harry's jealous of his dad, but he still all he wants is his dad's approval, and he's almost kind of jealous of Peter Parker and how he has all the things his father wished his son could be.
Yeah,
and I like that dynamic. And
you still haven't said what you think.
You kind of touched on everything. You kind of touched on everything. Peter Parker. Now, you want me to go on what I think of Peter Parker as Spider-Man? That's a whole other thing. Because I could do that. Because Peter Parker as Spider-Man. We're not there yet. Because man, this is where I start kind of like turning into Peter Parker, man.
We're everywhere, man.
We are everywhere. But so
we get introduced to Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and James Franco's Harry Osborn together at school.
Yeah.
So why don't you? Since I took so much from Peter, why don't you go with Green Goblin and his son?
Okay, Green Goblin's son for now. Okay. So my thoughts.
We're not at Green Goblin Jr. yet.
No, we're not. William Dafoe as Green Goblin this movie has for sure 2 perfect castings. William Dafoe as Green Goblin is perfect, spot on. I couldn't think of another better actor to do it. Maybe Jim Carrey. Carrey. Jim Carrey's got the expressions, man.
Jim Carrey. Okay, Green Goblin's very campy in this movie, but I don't think Jim Carrey can carry the
darker aspect,
the struggle of trying to be this campy villain that
we'll
wants
never
to
know.
be evil, and the guy who we'll never know.
We'll never know.
The guy who, I can't see Jim Carrey doing it.
Okay,
Willem Dafoe's performance.
The other one, and everybody knows this, is J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons. And we'll get to that later.
Put that as one of my bullet point notes. J.K. Simmons is a perfect J.J. Abrams. J.J. Johnson. He's a perfect J.J.
J. Jonah Jameson. But William Dafoe's character in this movie, I actually like that he tries to get Spider-Man on his side in the beginning. I think he sees something like almost
he wants
a kindred spirit.
He wants Peter as his son.
He wants Peter as his son, but not just that, but he wants Spider-Man as his sidekick.
Yeah.
He goes to Spider-Man and he tries to get Spider-Man to come to his side. And he makes a good point about how people are going to turn on him. I mean, not ultimately, it's not a good point because people do come around on Spider-Man. But I do like the Green Goblin's motivations for this in the movie. It makes sense why he's a rich guy.
He doesn't have much motivation.
Yeah, he does. He's going to lose his company. His company's turning against him.
Well, I guess there's
the military guy treats him like scum. And if you're Norman Osborn and your ego is like 11 out of scale of 1 through 10, you're not going to take that. So it makes sense when he just goes, you know what, man, we're just taking the freaking I'm taking the Goblin formula and we're just gonna do it. And also Sam Raimi
prove to them with my own body that the formula is ready.
Yeah. And Sam Raimi's touch of horror in this movie was really, really, really good.
Oh, I like the sprinkled within. The second one.
It is, and I like how it's sprinkled. Oh, I know what scene you're talking about. And I like all the horror elements sprinkled in. Even the campy parts that make no sense, like the jump scares with the Green Goblin, when it's just like, rah! I liked it. I was like, came out of nowhere, and I was like, I'm fine with it. And this is all stuff I used to hate. Well, not William Dafoe, but the campiness. And I came around watching it with my son.
Realize it's just supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be that way, and I was too harsh on it. And as far as Harry Osborn in this movie, he does a really good job of being like the comics, where he's kind of and so he's insecure for one, and I like that. And he's just trying to get his dad's approval. That's all he cares about.
That's all he wants.
That's
he just wants to be loved by his dad. But
yeah.
He dropped out of his private school. He's in a public school now. He's embarrassed to be
rich.
He's embarrassed to be an Osborn. And
He just kind of wants to fit in.
But then he has this best friend who is nerdy, a scientist that not only is intelligent but loves Norman's work.
Yeah, that's true. He understands his father's work.
He understands his father's work. He loves it. Yeah. Harry was in a lose situation when it came to having Peter as his friend because his dad loves Peter more than him.
Yeah, and also the Green Goblin costume. I hated it when I first saw this movie, and I hated it all this whole time. And you know what? I actually like the mouth, and not only that, after rewatching it this time on Blu-ray and everything, high definition TV, 4K, and all this.
Mine was the old DVD.
Really, not mine. And I noticed they did add purple to the top of the helmet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it really stands out when you watch it in high definition. Oh. It's there. Before, when I watched in regular DVD, you kind of see it here and there if you're paying attention. But in freaking the HD, high definition, 4K, whatever the hell you want to call it. It is 4K. Anyway, in 4K, you really see the purple. Like, you really see the purple on the hoodie, and it makes the helmet just look a lot better, a lot more dynamic.
I'm sure you knew this, but some people might not. Willem Dafoe does about 90% of his own stunts.
I did not know this, actually.
When it's those Green Goblin scenes where he's in the outfit,
yeah,
that's him. He was told, no, you don't have to be in the outfit the whole time. We could just do a voiceover. In fact,
voiceover would have been horrible because you couldn't see his eyes.
Sometimes you have to see his eyes. Sometimes you see the where they did a voiceover because his moves don't. His
lips don't match the words. Yeah.
But sometimes it matches perfectly. But he's in that outfit 90% of the time, doing his own stunts because he was like, no, if I'm going to be Green Goblin, I got to feel the character. I got to feel what it feels like to be the psychopath who's terrorizing New York.
My one nitpick with the helmet, though, is a minor nitpick. And I literally just thought of this right now. No, see, that's the thing. I wish they would have done the Batman thing where they just paint him green right here. I wish they would have done that and just give him yellow eye contact. Because his expression with the eyes and the eyebrows, it's very good. It's creepier than it is to just a solid bug eye yellow. Yeah, and it's a lot creepier. And I think if they would have gone that route, in my head, it looks better. And maybe it wouldn't work. But I know I've seen test footage of the other mask, the animatronic mask. Mm-hmm. That would have been cool too. That's another reason I think Jim Carrey could have done good is because the way he did the mask.
Yeah.
With the prosthetics on his face, he was still very animated in his facial features, and that's why I think he could have pulled off the. But also, he's done dark roles. He's done the movie with the 666 thing or the 23 number 20. Yeah, the movie 23. I don't know if you've seen it, but he plays like a.
One. Yeah, I don't think I've seen any serious role.
No, Jim Carrey could definitely play. Not to say you're wrong, but we'll never know. He could be right, and I could be wrong. But ultimately, it doesn't matter.
Since we've talked about our two star members. Another thing I want to bring up is that I really love about the films, the direction and everything. Peter Parker and Norman Osborn, go through their transformations at the same time. In the same night, we have the birth of the Green Goblin, and we have the birth of Spider-Man.
Right. Also, another thing, speaking of are we talking about Uncle Death? Can we talk about Uncle Death real quick? Because there's something I want to say Uncle Death. Unless you want to bring something up.
One thing I want to say about Uncle Ben's death is I don't know what kind of agreement Sony and Disney came to when it came to using Uncle Ben in the MCU, but it's not worth it. Uncle Ben is integral to Spider-Man. Iron Man's not a good replacement for Uncle Ben. That's going to piss off some Tom Holland stans who think everything about his movies is perfect, but Uncle Ben is Everyone's tired about seeing him die.
You walk up with great power comes great responsibility.
That's terrible.
Oh, but we're not there yet. The other movie does it worse. So credit to Sony. Credit to Disney for not.
We're not there yet, but I'm still mad that he doesn't have Uncle Ben.
Okay, no, but here's what I wanted to say on that. I like that because in the comics, Uncle Ben gets killed at home.
Yeah.
Okay, and that never what are the odds of that? Like he runs out of the wrestling thing and then goes to Uncle Ben's house and kills Uncle Ben. I like that they changed it to Uncle Ben gets killed outside, waiting for Peter to come out.
Yeah.
So I think that was better. It made more sense.
One of the things I like about this scene, and I don't know if my version was edited out or anything, but I don't believe we ever saw the conflict happen between Uncle Ben and the robber.
Yeah, we did.
Until Spider-Man 3.
Okay, I was going to say that. I'm not counting that right now. I'm pretending that doesn't exist for right now.
So what I just want to say real quickly is Spider-Man 3 is a retcon when it comes to Uncle Ben's death.
Yeah, can we not talk about that movie?
At the same time, we don't see it happen, so it never becomes an issue.
I'm going to pretend for this review that never happened because I want to like the things that I like. So
without bringing up retcons.
yeah,
Uncle Ben, played by the great Cliff Robertson. He's a real homely Uncle Ben.
He is. He really is.
You feel bad. You feel so bad for him when he's trying to give.
He's trying to connect to Peter.
He's trying to connect to Peter. It's like, we don't know how long it's been since Peter lost his family in this franchise.
I'm assuming he was a kid, like in the early continuity,
but he sees Peter as his son fully, and probably the only real male figure Peter's ever had in his life.
Well, actually, can I add to that? I know this is at the very end, but at the end of the movie where Green Goblin's dying, tells Peter, "I've been like a father to you." Peter tells him, "I have a father." Yeah. That was Uncle Ben. So he's been raised by Uncle Ben. That is his father figure, and that was a good touch. I really like that at the end of the.
I'm sure we've all had conversations with loved ones where we leave on a sour note, and then it takes a long time, or we never get to rectify that. You feel Peter's heartbreak once he realizes his last words to Uncle Ben, besides Uncle Ben, is, "You're not my dad.
Yeah.
Stop acting like it."
Right.
Like,
yep.
There's a reason Toby's sad.
I understand it for this movie. I'll say that. I understand why he's sad in this movie, and I like that. But I mean, I don't want him to turn Spider-Man and completely forget his Uncle Ben. So it makes sense for the purpose of this movie. So focusing on this movie still, when I first saw this, I did like Aunt May. I really did. But watching her now, every time she's on scene, it's like the movie comes to a screeching halt. It stops the movie's flow. Every time she's on scene, she talks so slowly and just like, just spit out what you want to say so we could get on with the rest of the movie. Yeah, her scenes kill the pacing of this movie for me.
One of the things that I always remembered about Aunt May's performance in this, Rosemary Harris, is when Green Goblin later in the movie goes to not kidnap her, not do anything to her, but traumatize this poor old woman in her house. Because we don't see him do anything to her, so it's just blow up a hole in her wall.
Well, which is enough to really scare people, though. To be fair, that is something. If our wall just blew up, we'd be kind of shocked.
Especially if you're an old lady going down for your evening prayer.
Yeah.
Just one of the things I remember is just her performance of being scared of Green Goblin while she's doing prayer, being so dumb. I didn't like that scene. Because nothing happens to her besides being frightened, which obviously, if you're her age, that's horrifying to have a green man blow up your wall while you're trying to pray.
It would be. But William Dafoe's finish it line was really good. Finish it. Also, I find it weird, but I actually like the Superman reference.
Yeah. But that's something I was watching. I was like, DC exists in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it does. Which means if this movie's, which it is connected to the MCU, means Superman exists in the MCU.
After Peter becomes Spiderman, Uncle Ben dies. We watch Macho Man Randy Savage go in a cage match. A random announcer gives Spider-Man his name. We get to meet J.K. Simmons' J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
Which is so good, he's back in the movies again.
Yeah. It's... Whenever I read a Spider-Man comic and I'm reading J. Jonah Jameson lines, it's J.K. Simmons' voice. Yeah. Every time it's J.K. Simmons' voice.
If there was ever a perfect cast, besides Professor X being played by Sir Patrick Stewart...
Oh, right.
It's J.K. Simmons playing J. Jonah Jameson.
It is.
So good.
It's iconic. Also, one thing I want to add that we didn't add at the beginning of the video, which I wish we had, the Spider-Man animated series. I just want to throw that in.
Which one?
The OG, the 90s.
The OG?
No, not OG. I guess there's the ones back in the day. But
several.
The 90s.
Spider-Man's been animated like the most out of
anybody. But the 90s Spider-Man is fucking... It
had some stellar performances.
Yeah, it was amazing. I just want to throw that in there because I don't think we...
Watch it on Disney Plus.
Oh,
We're
honestly,
not sponsored by Disney Plus, but watch
it on there. Unless Disney wants to sponsor us, that would also be good too. We'd take that. And
until we get to Star Wars.
Yeah. That's true. Oh. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we took a quick break right there. Had to get some refreshments. Spider-Man colors right here. Red and blue.
Entry grade gum plug for this guy. Christmas.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. You know what? Next time when he comes back for Spider-Man 2, because we are going to do Spider-Man 2, I'll go pick you up, even though you live way out in the middle of nowhere.
We'll do all Spider-Mans eventually.
We're going to get to them.
Probably
the good, the bad, and then the worst.
We have various opinions on which one's the greatest, the best, and those ones. But what was it?
But where did we leave off? We left off on also, for the record, we do like Star Wars, but we admit there's a few things about Star Wars I really dislike.
Definitely love Star Wars. There's several movies both of us hate or disagree on why we like them.
Or whichever way.
He thinks Attack of the Clones is the worst prequels movie.
It's probably one of the worst movies made in history, period. It's just anyway.
Spider-Man, right. JJ.
Alright, JJ.
So J.K. Simmons, we've already mentioned, great actor, great performer for JJ. What I love about his character is we get to see that in this one, is JJ will defend Peter. Green Goblin comes in and attacks JJ right after Peter just gave him some new photos. And he doesn't give Peter up. Peter's 5 feet away from him. And he doesn't give Peter Parker up because JJ believes in protecting his people. Most of the time in the comic books, he's a
psychopath.
He calls it...
No, and originally he hired scientists to build a robot to kill Spider-Man. He's a straight up villain. He created Scorpion.
There's other comics where JJ is just trying to keep Spider-Man humble by always lambasting him. That way he always has to prove himself. It depends on the writer.
The newer stuff, their family, and J. Jonah Jameson knows who Spider-Man is, so he tries to help Spider-Man now, but I'm glad they didn't make J. Jonah Jameson. There we go. That's like a fucking tongue twister.
That's why I call him JJ.
Yeah, JJJ.
JJJ.
Yeah.
Well, then there's a JJ Jr. JJJJJ.
Yeah, that's right. There is. You're right.
My son, the astronaut.
Yeah. Oh, my son could become something. So every time I say my son, it's my son, the freaking scientist. My son,
my son's a neuroscientist.
The neuroscientist. My son, the brain surgeon. And so you know what? J.K. Simmons works as a comedian in this movie is amazing. His line, every time he has to deal with all the bad news Betty gives him, like the checkbook, the wife lost it. It's like your wife lost the checkbook. He's like, thanks for the good news.
One of the things I love about the performance is people come into him with problems, and he at first is just, no, fuck that, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, wait a minute, come back. Here's the thing. No, wait, come back. Here's a better solution. Now go away, shoot, get out.
Yeah.
He does care. He just wants to put off this attitude as this strict editor, which he's a great character in these. He
is actually a great character in this, and somebody who's really underutilized, who I wish I'd seen more of in this movie, is Robertson.
JJ's direct assistant.
Yeah, he's in the movie.
Is he the editor?
I think so, right?
He's JJ's second in charge.
Right.
He's the advisor on JJ's shoulder.
Yeah.
Without him, JJ would be doing a lot more horrible newsletters.
Yeah, well, in the comics, he's a big support of Peter Parker. He helps Peter Parker all the time. And in this movie, they don't really have a relationship. In fact, they don't have a relationship during the whole franchise.
Yeah, but he's always the one telling JJ be softer on Peter.
Yeah, but in the comics, he almost feels like another member of Peter's family.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
The people in the Bugle office are great people.
Yeah. And they went with a more confident Betty Brant, not the original nerdy, very shy, afraid to talk to Peter Betty Brant.
Peter tries so hard to make her interested in this movie when they meet, and she does not care. No. This is just another photographer for the Bugle. This is a
Betty Brant who's like, no, I'm aware I'm pretty good looking.
You'll have to bring more pictures of Spider-Man to impress me.
Yeah, I've seen your paychecks. You don't make enough, buddy.
Speaking of paychecks, continuing with the story.
Peter, well, actually, you know what? We should do a part 2.
Part 2?
We need a part 2. This has already been on half an hour. We got to do a part 2. There's too much we gotta say. We're gonna have to come back to it, man. It's the only way.
Okay.
So
we can finally get to the plot now that the characters are done.
That's true. So
we love this movie.
We do. We
love the character.
I recently fell back in love with it, as of yesterday. But so guys, come back for part 2, please. Hopefully
The
we
actual movie
the
review.
actual movie review. I'm sorry we kind of like, what's the word? Catfished you on this one.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Nerd it out.
So guys, thanks for watching. Come back, like and subscribe, and me and Torn will be here for part 2. Thank you.